Hi, it's Councilmember Jason Lyon, Pasadena District 7, back with another Pasadena in Perspective, our look at how federal policy affects our city. This time, tariffs. If you've been following the news at all over the past few months or the past few days, you've no doubt heard about the current administration's plan to impose tariffs on various countries' exports to the U.S. A tariff is a tax levied by the federal government on foreign goods imported into the country. And the purpose is basically to increase the cost of those goods on the domestic market. Why would we want to increase the cost of goods in America? Well, it's usually one of two closely related reasons. First is to make our own goods, which may be more expensive to produce, more competitive with the foreign-made products. And second is to offset a trade imbalance between two countries. So if we're exporting $1 billion worth of goods to a country, but importing $2 billion worth of goods from that same country, the U.S. might impose a tariff to offset the deficit. Most, but not all, economists tend to think of tariffs as a net negative because they drive up the cost of goods here at home, which contributes to inflation. And they may lead to an overall decrease in our foreign exports, especially if imposing them sets off a trade war. Since taking office in January, the new administration in Washington has announced tariffs on a broad range of countries and products, including goods from our traditional trading partners. The stated goal of the tariffs is to bring foreign manufacturing and all the associated jobs to the U.S. so that the goods would be American-made and then not subject to the import duty. The administration's betting that even countries that don't want to bring their manufacturing operations to the U.S. will still want to participate in the vast American marketplace, and so they won't ratchet up a trade war with the most powerful country on earth. Maybe, maybe not. The imposition of broad-ranging tariffs is in itself a big change in U.S. trade policy, but perhaps the bigger change is in the philosophy underlying the policy shift. America's economic strategy has historically been very closely aligned with its traditional values of promoting democracy and individual liberties, and often looking out for the global underdog. The new administration's policies seem to represent a shift away from the historic linkage of our values and our economics and our strategic partnerships to a purely financial approach, and in some cases to an apparent shift of favoring the top dog over the underdog. How that change in our values affects our international partnerships and our lives domestically is at this point anybody's guess. In the short term, though, even the administration agrees that consumer costs are likely to rise. So now we get to Pasadena. The biggest economic concern for our region in the wake of the Eaton fires is going to be the cost of rebuilding, which was expected to reach the tens of billions of dollars without import tariffs. Now we're looking at federally imposed duties on Canadian lumber, which comprises about 30% of the U.S. market, and on imported steel, which is about a quarter of the U.S. market, and on essential elements like lime and gypsum, which we import heavily from Mexico. Import tariffs on construction materials are likely to slow down the global supply chain as well, which, as we saw during COVID, has a tendency to drive up prices. According to the National Association of Home Builders, the administration's tariffs are likely to raise the cost of construction exponentially, at least over the next couple of years, which is exactly when we'll be looking to rebuild from the Eaton fire. How long all of this lasts will depend on a lot of unknowns, including how other countries react in terms of imposing retaliatory tariffs, and whether the administration backs down from the tariffs if their effect on the domestic economy is too severe. For now, the city will continue to press the federal government to enact policies, whether it's subsidies or exceptions to the tariffs, to bring down the cost of our reconstruction. As always, if you have questions, email me at jlyon@cityofpasadena.net.